Hello to all. This is Arina from Cotecna, and today I would like to discuss with you Black Sea and America's crop quality. I would like to concentrate mostly on the wheat and maize. However, I mentioned also a little bit information on soybeans and soybean meal. It's impossible to feed all information I would like to discuss in a 20 minutes presentation. So some slides I will skip. And please ask questions. The reason they are there, not to be talked about, but for you to know it's available. So I would like to start from a new crop in the Black Sea that is most recent. So this is Russian milling wheat. And everybody now talking about quality, what is coming. So the good news for Russia, the production is going to be up to previous year. And also quality is expected at the same level as the previous year, so you already know what to expect. Same as the previous year, southern region experienced some drought. However, central and northern regions, its quality is extremely high. And overall, we foresee slightly increase in the test weight all around the country for a Russian wheat. If we will go back further to Ukraine, also our prognosis, it's still very early to say. Situation it's a little bit opposite than in Russia. So production will be a little bit less as expected. The situation with the weather, as it's in the same basically geographical area, southern region suffer the drought. Northern region and central region good crop quality. Overall, so far at the ports, we see test weight a little bit less. The good news with the protein level, it's stay at the higher level for Ukraine. It's quite high as the previous year. So we're all interested to see what is coming next. For Argentina, crop comparison, it is about similar as the previous year. So it is quite constant and quite consistent. What is maybe worth to mention that for current season, we see some lower findings in the gluten for wheat loaded and Nicosia. But on the other hand, at the same time, in Bahia Blanca, that is another main south port, quality has been outstanding. Also, I just would like to mention very few minor cases, slightly increased level of DON in certain production pockets, but absolutely nothing to worry about here. And for upcoming crop, in regards to volume, these and latest season crops for Argentina for wheat are very similar. The main issue now is related to economic prospects as new government launched different measures that will indeed affect the farmers' calculations. It's still there is a lot of uncertainties for maize and beans. However, for winter wheat, farmers decided to increase slightly the area and reduce the barley. So the prospects are into the increase of the harvest. For USA, quality is in USA it's quite stable and there are many sources on it. So I just go further for countries comparison and I just keep information for USA here. While we looking at the country comparison, I would like to make just a small note that in order to compare properly, other variables need to be taken into consideration. For example, as parcel homogeneity and quality versus just quantity if we're talking about milling wheat. There is no big issues, never been with mycotoxins lately on wheat. So I just keep those slides for general information and you know all information in detail is available. I also would revert to mycotoxins a little bit later in our presentation. Then we'll discuss phytosanitary subject and fungi distribution. But just to show now on Russian slide as an example, given columns, green columns show average figure And dots above show detected high outstanding figures, just as information. And now I would like to stay a little bit more and say a couple more words on pesticides residues content. Lately, EU issued a draft to Commission regulation of maximum residue levels for chlorpyrifos and chlorpyrifos methyl. New MRLs for all products are proposed to be below 0.01 ppm or non-detected, started from October of this year. It's worth to mention that currently MRLs for two mentioned pesticides vary from product to product. At the same time, in August 2019, Ministry of Agriculture of Thailand ceased licensing extension for chlorpyrifos, paraquat and glyphosate. The glyphosate ban was scheduled to take effect in December. However, after pressure from industry, the ban was reduced just to restriction. The course was shifted from ban on free pesticides to restricting the use of glyphosate and delaying the enforcement of bans on paraquat and chlorpyrifos. While being on this subject, I just list current requirements of Indonesia for mentioned pesticides, just to keep it on the same place. Also, while being slightly in this slide on the subject of feed and food safety, I mentioned recent Vietnam new regulations in regards to heavy metals and alpha. Just to keep a record, and my colleagues in Asia will be any question in that regards about new proposed and existing regulations. So now coming back to pesticides. Just on this slide, I would like to mention pesticides are color-coded as well as respective limits for your easy reference. Percentage below figures indicate number of positive cases possible under new regulations. So only when new regulations will come in force, based on previous year statistics, that percentage of samples may show slight some pesticide residues above the limits. It is worth to mention that different countries have different commonly used pesticides. That is absolutely normal. I put three most common in yellow rounds, 1 to 3. It does not mean those pesticides show the level above limits, but cases where pesticides have been detected. For Russia, for example, you can see, looking at the slide, most common is pyrimifos methyl. It's followed by malathion and tibuconazole. However, as you can see, levels are far away, even being close to maximum allowed limits. Under current EU regulations, there is no exceeding MRLs for chlorpyrifos and chlorpyrifos methyl. However, after new regulations enforced, percentage of positive cases exceeding MRLs are about 5% for chlorpyrifos, and as you can see, only 1% for chlorpyrifos methyl. That is still very low. Looking at the Ukraine, pyrimifos methyl is also most commonly detected in Ukraine pesticides, and chlorpyrifos going next. And for chlormiquat and tibuconazole split the third place. Risk for Ukrainian wheat to exceed EU new limits for chlorpyrifos is higher than Russia, unless some actions will be taken to reduce its usage. And now in Ukraine, this subject is actively under the discussion. So situation will improve, and risk will be lowered for Ukraine as well, at least for a similar level as to Russia. Talking about Argentinian wheat, chlorpyrifos is widely detected, so it has undivided #1 place, and all other pesticides are followed with about the same frequency. Again, risk under the new regulations are quite low and being at only 7% for chlorpyrifos. Now, for the sake of time, we will just go straight to maize and discuss just in brief major quality of the maize for 4 main origins. And as you can see, most of the parameters are very comparable, except only one. This is a broken. So why Ukrainian broken is usually parameter higher than others? There are a few reasons behind it, starting from typical varieties to post-harvesting handling techniques. And corn killers are mostly traumatized during drying process. As we can see from the chart, Ukraine showed good improvement in stress crack reduction during last 3 years. Just to mention what the stress crack is a parameter that shows a scale of the internal damage invisible to naked eye. Once Ukraine will improve on post-harvesting handling, as you will see from the next slide, the energy value of Ukraine corn is at the same level as other competing origins. So it's just a matter of time when technology will catch up and thus the overall quality of Ukrainian corn will improve. Mycotoxins, also same story as for wheat, and lately show no big issues for any mycotoxins detected. As an example, this slide again, you just can see the average and detected levels just for your information and your knowledge. And now going to the pesticides. Pesticides data for maize follow exactly the same logic as for wheat. So I will not talk about this one, I just keep it here and we continue for other most important subjects. Here, especially while talking about Ukrainian maize, I would like to mention South Korea list of pesticides. Quite often we receive questions in that regards. The list of South Korea pesticides cross with EU regulated pesticides just on 60%. We had only limited of samples tested so far, and according to our data, Black Sea maize complies with this requirement. So looking at the list, there should be no major problems to comply with this requirement. And talking about Russian maize, basically all follow the same logic. I just go a couple words to stop on information or a soybean quality. As a presentation cannot be stretched in time, I just keep few slides about quality on the soybeans for our main different origins, America's origin as a Brazil, Argentina, and USA. And you're welcome to ask all the questions to me or my colleagues. So those slides just to be kept for your knowledge what this information is available. And basically nothing to talk about mycotoxins and soybeans, so I just keep it in the statistics. Soybean meal, again, just I skip those slides because I would like to go further to most interesting subject as a phytosanitary and quality control, where many questions can be raised. Again, this subject needs much more time than is possible to get in this presentation. So I just will highlight what information is available and just maybe a few interesting, in my opinion, cases. The control measures for a phytosanitary, there are many control measures set by the governments around the world. There are many levels. various agencies implementing such measures of control. Also, agricultural enterprises and their turn, and also exporters, are much concerned as they would like their production to comply with various destination requirements and also quality contractual specification. When I say phytosanitary, it's not necessarily only state regulated quarantine pests, but also other contractual parameters in that regard. As surveyors, we do crop tours, we do field studies, we participate at intake control programs. So it is important to assess risk and offer solutions. One of the most common, I think it's universal and most common method, regulated wheat, it's a red wheat or ambrosia. Ambrosia is a quarantine object for several countries, and often also part of contractual specification limits. Various there are 3 types of ambrosia around the world. I'm not going to talk much about this one. I just would like to mention that there are many methods and weed management programs around the world, including Americas and in the Black Sea, with the various weed management techniques and grain cleaning techniques. So impurities such as wheat seeds will be pulled away, they will be cleaned from their cargo using what is a different density, size, and thus a different flow in air properties. This slide just gives an example because there are, besides ambrosia, there are many other invasive plant seeds. Some of them can be toxic, some of them may be not toxic, or some of them can be restricted to certain destinations. So this is just one of the examples of for wheat seeds we do in Brazil. This slide I would like to stop a little bit more because this one it's an important subject, and this Cirsium arvense is interesting wheat because this wheat plant has many species, different kind of species, and all of them are spread equally in the Black Sea region and Russia and Ukraine. And some of them, only one of them, is a quarantine object, and the common name, as I put, it's a creepy crystal for Vietnam. And others are not quarantine, so they're still weeds, but they are not quarantine. They all look about the same when they are plants, just different colors and shape, and the dry flower will look exactly the same for all of those species, quarantine and not quarantine. So in order to understand what kind of species we are dealing about, seeds must be we must analyze the seeds, and we only can determine the type, exact type, looking at the seeds. And as per our internal statistics that we keep for many years, for 3 years by now, I would say what especially this wheat is this quarantine, Cirsium arvense, it's less than 7% of the cargo. Last but not least, I would like to briefly touch fungi spore subject. This is an example you can see of our statistical data on the most common fungi spores present in Black Sea region. This slide is for wheat, and I also have the same one later for maize. Why it's important for us to monitor spread of fungi spores? First, some fungi are quarantine objects for several destinations and several countries. Or they also can be listed in contractual specifications. Wheat, Good example will be all kind of Tiletia species. Looking at this slide, you can see there are different kinds of Tiletias. Some of them are quarantine objects almost in every country. Tiletia indica will be an example. And some will be quarantine just in few. From the previous slide, it can be seen what the most widespread and most tolerated, I would say, it is a Tiletia levis and Tritici species. And they are common for Black Sea crops. Tiletia controversa is quite rare, as it requires more hot climate than we have in the Black Sea. Another note I would like to make here, talking about quarantine objects, we are talking about spores, present or not present. Contracts, when we talk about contracts, they usually have limits for a bundled box. So now we have a quantity, so basically number of boxes with the spores inside. To finish on the fungi spores, let's look on the situation for a maize. As I mentioned, there are several reasons why we keep track to monitor fungi spores. And the second reason, beyond being quarantine object, we monitor fungi because fungi produce mycotoxins. Even during crop tour, we see fungi spores distribution, and we already predict we can more or less development of certain mycotoxins, especially when we know about specific favorable for a fungi development weather condition. For example, Afla and ochratoxin A, produced by fungi species Aspergillum and Penicillium. They are more storage fungi than field fungi. And others, most common, it's a DON, are produced by various Fusarium species. It is worth to mention that different types of fungi are antagonists. It means one species suppresses another one. Having Fusarium widely spread in Ukraine, for example, acceptable levels of DON and carbon. As we are limited with time in this presentation, please feel free to ask me and send me, my colleagues, any questions in the discussed subject. As I said in the beginning, the slides are added for illustrative purposes only, so you can see what information is available. And we can give much more in detail as per your request. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to meeting you soon again somewhere, and hope world go back to normal soon, and I see you. Thank you.